Hi, everybody. Hello. Welcome to Eating Peace this week. It's evening here, so the video looks a little bit different than when I normally make it during the day. But I wanted to be sure to get it in before I was traveling next week. One thing I really wanted to speak to is something that comes up over and over again with people I work with that have trouble with eating battles and eating wars, not so much eating peace. And that is the deepest stream of thinking that is extremely self-critical. Many people have this who don't even have trouble with eating issues. They potentially could have trouble with other addictive processes, but even people that don't have any kind of debilitating addictive cycle or process or some kind of behavior that they're resisting or against about themselves can have an extremely critical way of thinking, and it can be so painful. Those thoughts that we all have, I sometimes think of it as, I once heard the beautiful writer Annie Lamott say that it's like turning on a radio that says KFCK, radio, and we all know what that kind of stands for if you use a cuss word in English, and it's as if you turned it on and it just fires up and goes with the most vicious, mean, aggravating kinds of thoughts. Well, I thought we would look at that a little more closely with the perspective of some of the wisdom of Byron Katie and self-inquiry. Because the sort of energy of intense, fiery thought that is very critical, very judgmental, has a deep defense to it, or an attack even. Why would be attacking anything anywhere? If you look at war, you're attacking the other side because you think they are going to attack you. You know, this is a matter of life or death. I need to defend my land and my survival and my country. Maybe it's a principle that I'm defending, but I'm threatened. And I think that the way to manage my own safety is to actually attack that thing over there or defend against it. And one of the simple and quick ways that our minds works with defense or attack is to start kind of ripping to shreds with extreme criticism, whatever it is we're looking at. And that can include ourselves. We've all experienced with our bodies. But let's say we're considering that when it comes to eating behavior. That's what I really wanted to speak about today, because I've spoken with so many people at different times and remember it well myself. When it comes to food and eating, this idea, you could have done it differently. You should have done it differently. You should have known better. So a very, very simple question or exercise that you can do when you notice yourself plowing away at a kind of attack energy towards what you did in the past, which is now over, is you can ask this question. Can I touch this with some compassion? Can I be with this with a sense of open-mindedness rather than being so sure that I'm right, so intensely fired up with those daggers and those knives shooting out, you know? It's just that it's in thought and critical patterns rather than physical weapons. It's like thought weapons. Can I be compassionate with it? We all know that when we see a toddler having a screaming fit, that they're so upset, they feel so like they can't get what they want. They're not able to. And we have some compassion for a child. Not all the time, but it's a symbol I can come up with. It's an idea, or a animal, a baby having a tantrum, having a fit. And you can see the whole big picture and know that they're safe and everything will be okay, all is well, to relax, but they can't see it. And it's almost as if we're blind and we have that kind of frame of reference within ourselves. We just can't see that everything really is very well indeed, or there's nothing we can do, so we may as well relax. We can find some humor in the situation rather than it being so serious and so awful. So I was reading a little bit from the wonderful book, I Need Your Love, Is That True? Byron Katie's book. And although she's speaking about other people and our thoughts about them, she says this really interesting thing that I think applies to this self-attack, just the same as it does as if you're speaking or thinking about this towards anyone else in your life. What are the thoughts that come at these moments? It's a rejection of what is, a rejection of what's happening. So you feel the rejection in a moment. I should not have eaten that. I should have done it differently. Something went wrong. Or you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you think, I'm ugly, I'm overweight, I'm underweight. This kind of critical thinking, especially when it comes to eating food or the body, but it can be absolutely anything else. You could have made a mistake at something else you think at work, and sometimes that kind of mistake or criticism or judgment that you experience towards yourself makes you really, really desire comfort, love, quietness, and sometimes people move into wanting food. You know, food is very comforting in a way. The taste of food is comforting. There's many foods that are really pleasant to eat and taste, but it's fulfilling more than just fuel. So here you are comforting yourself emotionally by eating. So, and anyway, what she's suggesting is, here we are in this moment, feeling rejection of what is, rejection of something, not loving what is, rejection of what is. And the thoughts come in these moments. I'm hopeless. If he hadn't done that, she always, I knew better than to do this. Many of these thoughts, says Katie, are about what you would have done if you'd known better or seen it coming or remembered. You think that if you had done something other than what you did, you could have stayed in control of events. In other words, if I could readjust the past, and I begin to think that way even, then I can plan for this future potential threat or possibility and never let it happen again. Sometimes this is why we get schemes or plans or ideas about how we're going to be with food from now on. From now on, when I'm in that situation, I'm going to XYZ with food. Nothing incredibly wrong with that, and sometimes it works and feels comfortable to make a plan, and actually is there's supportive, loving, compassionate plans that people can share with one another or speak of or talk about. But I'm talking about the kind of plan where you're really, really wanting some sense of control, and you won't let up that what happened is bad. Let's just consider that with the work. You ate, you gained this amount of weight, here you are in this position, and you're thinking that what came before was no good. Who would you be without that very stressful story, that very painful story? Who would you be if you couldn't have the thought, what has been up to now that I have done so far is awful, worthy of a crime, I should be punished for it, wrong. It doesn't mean that you don't see there's something off balance. We're not in denial that nothing has ever happened that's bothered us or that something isn't up about this. But what if the slate was clean in this moment? Because it always is. What if I could hold this moment without that thought that everything that's happened previously up to this point in time now, when it comes to food or eating or anything, has been completely wrong and unforgivable? That kind of tightness of attack and war against what has been. I notice that every time I've ever thought that what has been is not good, then the way I'm feeling in the moment is that this moment is also no good. And this moment is really all that truly, completely exists. The past is a bunch of mental images in the mind, and the future and where this is going also has many mental images in the mind. So here in this moment, as I'm thinking I did something wrong, who would I be without that story? You have to slow down to let yourself get there for a moment, or even just imagine what it would be like. As I said to an inquirer just the other day who was doing the work, you don't have to make yourself be there. Oh, suddenly I am the person who no longer has the thought. I get it. Light bulb has gone off. I feel free. It doesn't really work that way. You can't force it. But you can wonder, with that amazing, brilliant mind, you can wonder, who would I be without my story? That's something you can use your imagination for. Who would I be without that story that what I did was bad and wrong, or what happened was no good and never to be gotten over? Who would I be without that story in my mind in the moment? What I like to see is that sometimes I am not thinking about things that I felt really horrible about. I forget about them sometimes. I go to sleep at night. My mind gets distracted and I move on to other things. Time passes and I'm no longer constantly ruminating on something that bothered me. So that happens naturally anyway, but with the work, it can happen in the most incredibly quick, laser sharp way, because you're using your imagination. Who would I be without this terrible story that I should have done it differently so that I could prevent or control any mistakes from happening next? What if it went just perfectly the way it was supposed to go and you're not the one in charge? I know that can sound a little sort of like the lack of control or effort or will involved can sound incredibly passive or discouraging, and I do not mean it in that particular way. I don't mean it in a sense of despair. There's nothing you can do, although there isn't anything you can do about the past. But you can question it and move yourself into freedom here with your own mind. What if I got to start fresh right now? And my life project is internal peace. My intention, my greatest integrity, my greatest desire is peace in this moment. Not escape or self-attack or judgment or brutality, viciousness. What if it's peace? Who would I be with that story? It's a turnaround, really. In this moment now, I'm okay with what has been. I'm okay with what is right now. And I can move from here and open. It's like life is a big question mark in a way. So just a final wrap-up of this wonderful, liberating belief, really, that you don't have to be condemned forever because of what you've done in your life in the past, or you don't have to attack yourself. I always like this one too, that I really did learn from Byron Katie, which is, if violence worked, your own mental violence, you would have changed by now. But it doesn't. It never worked for me, and I had the most violent mind about my eating issues and my body and my behavior and how I was with people that had nothing to do with food or eating, except for those things would trigger eating. And it was just so violent and so demanding, so filled with pressure and the need to change. And despite all those ways of thinking and being with my own mind, I didn't make any changes. I tried, and it wouldn't last, be temporary. You can force yourself in kind of a temporary change with a lot of effort and a steel will, but it's difficult to make that last, and it certainly is not peaceful. So here's what Katie says, the quote that I wanted to share with you that is just such a capper. I think it's fabulous for this whole principle. Byron Katie says, The alternative to attacking yourself about what's happened in the past or expecting it, demanding that it go a certain way for you to be happy in the future, the alternative is to expect reality not to follow your plan. You realize that you have no idea what's going to happen next. That way, you're pleasantly surprised when things seem to be going your way, and you're pleasantly surprised when they don't. So, really rather funny. But anyone can do this. Anyone has the capacity to be aware of pleasant surprises and be open even to being surprised. That being surprised is not dangerous. That we can take the next moment, the next day, and start fresh and just see who we'd be without any story of food or eating or our body, and just focused on peace and gentle compassion with the self. Loving the self. Can I touch this moment with compassion? Can I be with myself with ease? If peace is my absolute top number one intention, who would I be without any of my stories that are not peaceful? And I had so many non-peaceful stories about food and eating. Do eat this, don't eat that. Eat that now, eat that later. You're not allowed to eat that. You shouldn't be eating this. You should have no craving. You need to do something about it. Constant stream of thought about, like a dictator, what I should and shouldn't be craving and desiring and thinking about and wanting, with a relaxation towards even those kinds of voices, gentleness, compassion. I found that they actually dropped away, and with a focus on peace, peace above all else. It's what we really want anyway, peace above all else. It's not like we have to force ourselves to have peace be at the top of the line. It just winds up being that is our truest desire, is peace. And I know, based on personal experience and from working with so many people, that it is entirely possible for anyone, including you, to experience peace and also experience health, relaxation, positive body image, balancing to the right weight, and allowing reality to hold you. It's possible to be all of that. Call it thin, normal. It's possible to be whatever's right for you and to be peaceful, if that's what you are really going for. Let reality take care of the body and all of it that's going on, and relax. You don't have to be in control. In fact, letting go of control is going to be the most exciting adventure of all. Okay, let me know how it goes. Remember, touch it all with compassion.